So you're thinking about moving to Michigan from Chicago. Here's a bunch of reasons why Ross and I think this is happening, because it's happening quite often.
And yes, we're a little biased, but Chicago's still a pretty nice area.
Yep. So stay tuned, guys. All right, welcome back to the channel, everyone. My name is Kevin Irwin.
And I'm Ross Young.
We are local real estate agents here in the West Michigan area. If this is your very first time to our channel, we go over anything and everything that has to do with living and thriving here in the West Michigan area. So whether you live here or you're looking to make a move here, make sure you give us a call, send us a text, send us an email, even send a pigeon care if you have to. Whatever you guys have to do, we have your back when it comes to making a move here in West Michigan.
And as always, make sure you hit that subscribe button, the notification bell, to get notified every time we put out a new video.
Absolutely. All right, let's jump into this video. Chicago to Michigan.
Yes.
Why?
Well, we're really not that far away from Chicago, to be honest with you. About 2-hour drive. And honestly, we've both driven through Chicago, and it is a
Actually, I have not driven through Chicago. I've been in a cab, but it's scary.
I've driven through Chicago plenty of times, and it is a massive, massive city.
Yes.
And I cannot blame anybody wanting to get out of the city, because you get into West Michigan is so serene and it's so nice. Right. And you go from city life to nature. It's just something a lot more peaceful about West Michigan, in my opinion. I'm a little biased too. But here nor there.
Right. You know, and it's Chicago. There's a reason why we're doing Chicago to Michigan versus Illinois to Michigan. We'll probably do a separate video because Chicago is just that big.
Yeah.
And there is a lot of people that seem to be choosing to move out of that big hustle and bustle city over to the Grand Rapids or West Michigan area. Just to put it in perspective for you guys, the metro Grand Rapids area is around 200 to 220,000 people. Mm-hmm. Chicago, 2.1 million. So that's a massive difference.
2.6, I think.
Okay, 2.6.
I mean,
regardless.
what's 500,000 among friends? You know, that's only twice the size of Grand Rapids.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, it is much more busy over there. You have a ton more traffic. You know, in West Michigan, like Ross said, it's very serene here. It's very green. It's very, you know, not a concrete jungle.
Yep. And Chicago's so big that, you know, you feel like it has its own gravity.
Right.
Really. And a lot of people are moving to Michigan for the beach life. That is a very, very popular destination for a lot of people that are coming out of Illinois, Indiana. They want the beaches. So let's kind of touch a little bit on why West Michigan is such a tourist destination.
Well, that's because we have 1,600 miles of white sandy beaches.
Yeah.
That's a lot of beach.
That's a lot of beach. And we have also covered the top 5 beach towns in this video here. And make sure you check that out if you were looking to make a move from Chicago to one of these beach towns or looking for a vacation home. There are so many opportunities right along the beach fronts that come up. Yep. And little fair warning, if you want to be right on Lake Michigan, you better be prepared to open up a pocketbook.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are some absolutely stunning houses along Lake Michigan, but majority of the houses that have been built on Lake Michigan are rather large, and it's such a hot commodity to get one of those houses that the price is up there. I mean, you're talking very high 6 figures into the 7 figures.
Now, as far as other general housing goes, you're going to find a very similar style in the suburbs of Chicago as you would around West Michigan. Now, when you get into downtown Chicago, in the very downtown, obviously we don't have the high-rise. We do have a couple high-rise.
We have a couple high-rise condos.
Call high-rise, but for people who are coming from Chicago, they would be not very high. No. But in Chicago, you're going to have more of the very close together suburban. Michigan is going to be more spread out.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you know, like we talked in the beginning of this video, 200,000 people versus over 2 million people in the general downtown Grand Rapids area. Now, when you look at like Kent County, it's right around 700,000 people. So, you know, obviously we're specifically talking about Grand Rapids Metro. As you get out of Grand Rapids Metro, get towards the lakeshore, you know, something pretty unique to West Michigan is a lot of these towns, they have their own personalities, they have their own ecosystems. You know, if you go into Holland, Michigan, check that video out. You can live there and you don't have to even go to GR.
Right.
So, and I think that's why a lot of people are moving here from Chicago, because they can get along the lakeshore. Even if you're not into that super high price point, the little bit further inland you go, you can get into, you know, 250 up to 500, $600,000 ranges, and anything in between.
So with all these different areas, you would have to expect what's it like to drive in these areas. And to be honest, West Michigan is set up like a grid. Like we mentioned in other videos, we're set up like a grid. So if you want to get anywhere, it's relatively easy. Our highways are not usually very busy. Not, you know, during rush hour, we will have some backups, you know, maybe a half hour here and there. But when you look up commute time from these outside areas going into Grand Rapids, you're looking probably about 20 minutes. 20 minutes is about the average time for somebody who lives in the Grand Rapids area. Right. Now, when you look at Chicago, you're looking at closer to a half an hour. And personally, I've driven through Chicago many times, and I don't think there might have been once or twice where have not gotten stuck in a traffic jam in Chicago. So that's just the sheer volume of people there is in Chicago.
Yeah, and if you haven't been to Michigan yet, like from our perspective, driving into Illinois on the outskirts of Chicago, my wife and I went to the CrossFit Games 2 years in a row out in Madison, Wisconsin, and it was intimidating. Like, when you're driving up to those massive highways, it just feels intimidating because you guys have so many people there that you have to have those big highways. When you're driving through the center part of Grand Rapids, we have 4 or 3 lanes, you know, so 6 total instead of 6 to 10 in one side and 6 to 10 on the other side. You know?
Right.
So that kind of gets you guys, you know, explains to you the difference between living there and here.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we don't really talk about a lot on this channel is crime rates. You know, I think one of the reasons people are moving over here from Chicago is because your crime rate there is much higher than it is here in West Michigan. Not saying that we don't have a crime rate, because pretty much anywhere you live, there's going to be some type of a crime rate. But, you know, when you've got over 2 million people versus not even 1 million people in a single county, you know, crime rate is going to be a lot less.
Yeah. And I think it's also broadcast a little bit worse than what it actually is in Chicago.
Right.
I've been in Chicago many times and I never felt threatened, but
but you probably weren't going down back alleys and stuff.
The back alleys. No, not at all. But you know, crime is always something that you have to look out for, especially when you're trying to move a family or you're, you know, say you're not going to be there all the time and it's a vacation house. You don't want it to be broke into.
Correct. Yeah.
So,
and there's a lot of vacation homes here in West Michigan that are vacation homes for reasons like that. I mean, you don't have to worry about people right now. If you're the crime people watching this from Chicago, don't be coming over here breaking into our vacation homes. But no, just kidding. You know, I always feel safe for the most part here in West Michigan. Very few times have I ever felt threatened, and that's mostly because, you know, Ross and I are real estate agents, and we're out in a lot of different areas, and there's only a very few times I've felt threatened.
Right.
You know, and that's good.
Yeah. One of the main reasons why people from West Michigan go to Chicago is for these shopping opportunities. You know, that Chicago is the nearest, largest mega city, I guess you would put it, to Grand Rapids.
Right.
And we don't really talk about Detroit. It's over there. But
that thing over on the other side of the state.
Yeah. So Chicago is a prime destination for shopping. Now, don't be discouraged because there is a lot of opportunities for shopping if you want to around here in Grand Rapids. Mm-hmm. We have Tanger Outlets. We have Woodland Mall. We have Rivertown Mall. We have Knapp's Corner. There are so many little downtown areas in Holland, Saugatuck, Grand Haven, Zeeland, Granville, Rockford, you know, all these little areas which have the little boutiques and little shops, mom and pop shops, but then you also have the big name stores as well.
Yep, absolutely. So don't worry, you shoppers, that there is opportunities here for you to go get your shopping fix.
Yeah, for sure. So if you're not much of a shopper and you're looking at West Michigan for more of the nature areas, West Michigan has it all. We have 4 seasons, much like Chicago. I think a little more pronounced here. We get more snow than what you do in Chicago. It's not as windy here, but we get more snow. And then up to the north, you have Manistee National Forest, which is one of the largest national forests in the country. So if you want to get out in nature, maybe do some overlanding, some hiking, some biking, whichever, there are plenty of opportunities with all the bike trails and federal forest and state forest to go get your fix.
Absolutely. I mean, the active community here in West Michigan is absolutely huge.
Yep.
Every single community you go to has spots where you can get your bike out, has spots for running. You know, we have the White Pine Trail that goes from Comstock Park all the way up to Cadillac. You know, there's so many different opportunities. If you're a snowmobiler, there's plenty of opportunities to snowmobile as long as we get some snow this year. But if you're a boater, endless opportunities.
Yeah.
We have over 11,000 lakes here in Michigan, including some very massive lakes around us. Obviously, if you're from Chicago, you guys have the other rocky side of Lake Michigan. We have the beautiful side of Lake Michigan. But, you know, there's just always activities to do here. Does not matter what time of year it is. There's always something you can be doing. Actually, sometimes it kind of gets annoying because you're like, are we ever just going to stay at home and just kind of chill?
Right, right. I want to do nothing, but there's so much to do.
Right, exactly.
So I kind of think this is a good segue into our culture in West Michigan. You know, if you're out on the trails, if you're out walking on the, you know, side streets or whatever, and you pass somebody, it's very common to say hi, how are
Hi.
you doing, and things like that. And the number of times I've been in Chicago, it's really not the case everywhere you go. So the culture here in West Michigan is definitely very friendly, very hospitable. And I would say that's what really makes West Michigan stand out.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, Chicago, one thing to think about too, it's a lot faster pace there.
Yes.
To the point where when I did go visit there and I was riding in a cab, you guys are getting 2 inches from Ferraris. That's not going to happen here. You know, the cabs drive a whole lot slower here. You're not swerving in and out of traffic. It's just a lot slower. And I think that's part of the reason why when Ross says that people like to say hi, you can say, hey, how are you? And they will answer you. They won't just walk by you blank-faced like, nope, you must be a tourist. I'm not going to talk to you. You know, that doesn't
Wow,
happen
you just did the
here.
robot voice.
I did.
That was awesome.
Because that's the feeling I've got from going there sometimes. It's like, you know, we do. We have a really cool culture here. Ross and I didn't really realize what kind of culture we had here in West Michigan until we started helping a lot of people move here.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you know,
So what's it really going to cost you to live here in West Michigan? Now, the housing prices are relatively similar. It's a little bit more expensive to live in Chicago than what it is in Grand Rapids as far as housing goes. But as far as food, groceries, things like that, they are very similar. Obviously, we are not very far from Chicago. We're only about 2 hours, you know, as you drive.
yeah, even less if you take the ferry.
Right. What was really surprising, though, is vehicle expenses. Vehicle expenses in Chicago are about 45% higher, and that's for gas, insurance, and maintenance on your vehicle. And that was a really surprising statistic for me. I just had no idea, even though they're so close.
Right. And even though we're like the salt state of
Right.
the Midwest, you know.
Pothole nation. So, yeah. So I hope this video was informative for you guys. And we love doing these videos, but we love having you guys reach out to us so much more than making these videos.
Absolutely.
So if you ever have any questions, if you want to look at some of these beach houses, if you want to just explore the idea of even moving to the West Michigan area, feel free to give us a shout, give us a call. Whatever you got to do, we'll be here for you.
And even if you want to go to the beach, and we love going to the beach.
Right.
Like every time we get to go out there, it just feels so good. So do not hesitate.
There's one caveat. Gets below 60, count me out.
Yeah. Well, you fine. I'll go. No. All right, guys. Well, we really appreciate you watching. And again, reach out to us if you need anything. And until next time, we'll see you later.
See ya.